In this video, we're going to review the three different types of matrix for labor in your system settings. Let's take a look over here at system settings. We'll find behind the key and the gear icon our list tab. Once we navigate south here in the list tab, we're going to see pricing matrices, and let's take a look at labor matrices. Now, the three by default labels that you're going to start with are Diag, Guide, and then you're going to have menu. So let's talk a little bit about the strategy or the design of these three. The idea behind this is that we have different levels of opportunity for the three of these. The least opportunity that we have in theory is menu rate labor. So let's open up the rules here and let's take a look at what that looks like. Now, what would a menu rate labor look like? That would be any of the four flavors of fluid flush. Let's say we typically get an hour for them, and we're not going to have a huge amount of opportunity to go up and over your original price, right? These are high competition items, and we do still yet have an opportunity. So let's look here. It's a simple one-liner. We're going to say up to an hour, 5% markup, and it's going to result in 1.05. Down at the bottom, we're going to put 5%. Now, to do this, to create it, is simply going to be to select new range. It's going to start a new fresh line. You're going to type 1.0, and you're going to type 5 and enter and save. Down at the bottom, you'll type 5 and save, and you're done. Now, for all intents and purposes, before you think this may not be worth your time, let's think for a second about your $90 labor rate. $4.50 is 5%. How many fluid flushes did you do this year in 2023? Now add $4.50 to each one of those. It starts to add up in quantity. That's the whole purpose of us doing this. And $4.50 is a price objection that most service writers can overcome. Now let's take a look at Diag labor. Same general premise, but we're going to make a little bit more progress than 5%. Up to an hour, that's that level 1 diagnosis that we start with. 10%. We're going to hit .10 and 10% on the bottom. Same setup, but we're looking at a little bit more opportunity because, again, we're using some of the most expensive diagnostic equipment in the shop with the most expensive employee operating it. And let's not forget that we are paying to update that software every single year. I think we can all not forget that. And let's look at the highest opportunity for us to step on some labor here. Now, what we're going to look at here is just a dipping our toe in the deep end example. This is starting out at 1 hour, 20%. We're going to add 0.2 to every hour of labor. This is if we just want to get started. Now, this would be the example of, let's say, a 4-hour water pump job. The price for the customer is going to be 4.8 hours if we turn this on. Now, most of us, if we think on our 10 fingers and toes, that's probably pretty realistic. You might even already be doing that now. Now it standardizes it across the board. So your service writer doesn't have to think about it, doesn't have to do it by design, and it's automatic. And there is reporting that goes along with this. So later on here in the coursework, you're going to look at the reporting that's going to be able to quantify these decisions that you're making and look at the bottom line dollars that go along with it. Now, for those out there that are a little OCD like I am as well, you have the opportunity to look at this on a linear scale. You can go down, just like in our parts matrix examples that we learned about, and look at this as a growing opportunity. So that 1 hour at 25%, you can go much higher than that. You can go even up to 50% as the example. Now, that 50% example changes as you go higher in quantity. So let's take a look at that. We're going to round out the video here with some examples of where do we go from here. Now we're going to add a new range and say, okay, up to 50% there, but then we're going to say up to 3 hours. We're going to change that and we're going to do 25%. And then we're going to do a new range and we're going to come up here and we're going to go to 10 hours. And then at this point, we're going to round out at that 20%. So what we're effectively doing here is we're adding 3/4 of an hour up to 3 hours, and then we're adding that extra 2 hours at 10. So we're not being overly aggressive, but you can be as aggressive as you want. You can even spread it down 8% as you go down that scale. So there is no limit here. There are coaching outfits, for example, Repair Shop of Tomorrow, that'll teach you the wisdom behind heavy engine repair and how that clogs up the service bays, and how do we combat that with using a linear scope in the labor matrix design.